Hi friends, today I am going to present a poem, The Prisoner of Chillon, which was written by Lord Byron. Lord Byron, as we all know, he was the one among the most important romantic poets of 19th century. George Gordon Byron was born on 22nd January 1788 and he was the son of Captain John Byron and Catherine Gordon. As a poet, he started his literary career at an early age. We all know about a single line poem which was written by Lord Byron about the Jesus miracle that he turns the water into wine. And the poem is like, water met his master and blushed. And at the age of 21, Byron became a member of House of Lords. By birth, he suffered from a deformity in his right foot. To prove himself a normal man, crossed Dardanelles in 1809. He died on April 19, 1824. The main works of George Gordon Byron are Childe Harold's Pilgrimage. It's an autobiographical poem of Byron with 4 cantos. Then Don Juan, House of Idleness, The Siege of Corinth, Prometheus, When We Two Parted, Cain Tragedy, English Bards and Scotch Reviewers. The Romantic movement is not only a revival but a revolt also. Its ideology in both the literature and the politics of England is the same human craving for freedom. As a romantic poet, Byron introduced his protagonists. The main characteristic features of his protagonists are they are melancholic, hunted by secret guilt for which to many he seemed the model. And the heroes of Byron or the such type heroes are known as Byronic hero. It was a term coined to indicate such type of heroes, and he used different styles in his works. He created immensely popular romantic heroes. He used verses, narratives, odes, lyrics, speculative dramas, historic tragedy, and confessional poetry. And mostly he wrote epics and lyrical poems. He named himself as the embodiment of romanticism. And as we mentioned above, there are three main terms which was coined which have a connection with Byron. They are Byromania, Byronism and Byronic hero. And first, Byromania. At the age of Byron, he had enjoyed unlimited name, fame and fan following for his writings. After the publication of Childe Harold's Pilgrimage, his autobiographical poem in 1812, his fame elevated to an unimaginable position. This was known as Byromania and the term was coined by his own wife, Isabella. And the next term is Byronism. It was a term used in literature to denote certain characteristics identified with Byron and his heroes who are in some way extension of his own, especially romanticism, rebelliousness, melancholy and melodramatic energy. And the third and final term is Byronic hero that we mentioned above. It represents an idealized but flawed character whose attributes great talent, great passion, distaste for society and social institutions. For the distaste for society, there is an evidence in his work Don Juan. There is a quote, society in now one polished horde formed of two mighty tribes, the Boers and Board. This quote was a reflection of his view about the society. And the particular poem, The Prisoner of Chillon, was a dramatic monologue, and it was a historic narrative poem in 14 stanzas which was published in 1816 in the volume of The Prisoner of Chillon and Other Poems. About the political imprisonment of a Swiss patriot, Francois Bonneval. He is also a monk. Byron wrote this poem after his visit to the castle of Chillon, which was located on Lake Geneva with Shelley and his wife. It was a huge castle with underground dungeons and torture chambers, and there Byron, influenced by the lives of political prisoners there, and he came to know about the story of the monk Francois Bonnevet, and this was the motive to him to write the dramatic monologue, The Prisoner of Chillon. As we said, the poem is about the political imprisonment of 16th century Swiss patriot Francois Bonnevet, and he was devoted his life to the liberty and right of the people of Switzerland. And he had 5 siblings, and 2 of them were imprisoned with him in the castle of Chillon, and the dungeon in the castle of Chillon, and 2 among them were killed in the battlefield, and one among them and his father was burned to death. In this poem, Byron mainly presents the psychological conditions of an individual in confinement. He regards Chillon as a symbol of political liberalization and state liberty as the eternal spirit of boundless mind. The champions of liberty are patriots and martyrs in the view of Byron. The main themes which was discussed in this poem are isolation, exile, dichotomies between freedom and imprisonment, life and death, nature and human constructions, man and the natural world, principles. And Byron made this poem very beautiful by the usage of figure of speeches like similes, metaphor, oxymoron, paradox, alliteration, assonance, consonance, anastrophe, transferred epithet. It was one of the beautiful poem in the 19th century. We can assure that, and we can see the influence of Wordsworth and P.B. Shelley in this poem. The Prisoner of Chillon begins with the sonnet to Chillon, and it was an identical hint for the influence of Shelley both in style and the writing form in Byron. And also we can see the influence of Wordsworth. There are a line, and it was come to love me when none lived to love me so again, and cheering from my dungeon's brink had brought me back to feel and think. It was the 275th line of the Prisoner of Chillon, and here we can see a singing bird who came to accompany our prisoner, and he says that it was the last vestige of optimism. Maybe the bird also caged and managed to escape, but we can see that after the absence of the bird make our prisoner more alone, more depressed state than before the arrival of the bird. And as a whole, we can say that the Prisoner of Chillon gives us a piteous picture of a man whose humanity is destroyed by imprisonment. And I am going to conclude this presentation by saying the quote of M.C. Gillington. She was a well-known writer, British writer, and in her book A Day with Lord Byron said, Byron is an empathetically a citizen of the world who has not only painted the environs but reflected the passions and aspirations of every scene which he visualizes. Thank you all.